Oh, do you have to leave real fast? I'd love to ask you a question about logic. No, really.
One question.
Sure. Sure. I know, my name's Tony, by the way.
Nice to meet you.
And how do you pronounce your first name?
Shian.
Shian.
It's like
okay.
in Northern States.
Okay. Are you Irish? Scottish?
Lithuanian on my mom's side,
oh, okay.
and Scottish and German and Irish
okay.
on my dad's.
Well, we just met, so I'm not making any assumptions about what you believe because I don't know, okay? So the question isn't based on anything you've said. I just heard logic, and that interests me.
Yeah.
In a naturalistic worldview, how does a naturalist explain logic which is outside of nature?
Well, I just think it's basically a tool that leads us to...
well, my question is, in a naturalistic worldview, how can you account for logic when logic is unnatural?
What makes you think that logic is unnatural?
Well, you can't go to the fridge and pull out a pound of logic for me. Okay, it is immaterial. Logic is universal, meaning it applies to everybody in the same way. Otherwise, we would be violating a law of logic called the law of non-contradiction. The law of logic is unchanging. Culture does not change logic. Culture has no bearing whatsoever on those laws. They are constant, they are unchanging, they are universal, and they are immaterial. How, in a naturalistic worldview, can you account for something that is, by definition, unnatural?
Well, I mean, I don't really believe in, consider myself to have a naturalistic or an unnaturalistic worldview. I mean, I think that there's not really any...
Well, do you believe in the supernatural? Do you believe that God exists?
No, I don't believe in God, but not because I think that a so-called supernatural thing is, logically precluded or something.
But in the end, what do you think is more important, what we believe or whether or not what we believe is true?
What's more important?
Yeah, what we believe or whether or not what we believe is true.
Well, I'd say in terms of human happiness, I'd say what we believe.
I'm not asking it to be qualified. I'm just asking simply what's more important, what we believe or whether or not what we believe is true.
It just depends on the circumstance. I mean...
Okay, well, let me give you one. Where did my friend go? Oh, Miska, here, in the white t-shirt. Miska from Finland. Just met him today. If I came up and introduced Shian, my friend and I to you, and I said, this is my friend Michelle. She is a 5'2" African-American girl, and I believe that with all my heart. Will it ever be true?
No.
No, right. So in the end, it doesn't matter what I believe about Miska. What matters is what's true, right?
That's true.
Truth is not determined by what we believe.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So positing that I don't believe has no bearing on our conversation because it's completely arbitrary.
Yeah.
Right? So it doesn't matter what you or I believe about logic. What matters is whether or not what you and I believe is true. And the truth about logic is that it is immaterial. In order to show me that logic is not immaterial, you would have to show me a material form of logic. And you can't. Right? In order for logic not to be universal, you would have to give me an example where the laws of logic have changed, where one law would apply to me, but that same law wouldn't apply to you.
Yeah.
You can't. You can't.
True.
Right? So that, again, if you try to construct a worldview without God, that leaves you only with naturalism, what you can see, what you can quantify, what you can feel.
No, it doesn't. I How does that make any sense? Without God, it leaves you only with what you can see and feel. How does that make sense?
Well, there's only two worldviews. There's a worldview with God and a worldview without Him. Those are the only two worldviews. There's a worldview with God and a worldview without Him.
Yeah, but how does that mean that in a world without God, there's only material things?
Because you can't account for anything without God that is immaterial. Give me an example. Give me an example of something that's immaterial that you can account for.
Give you an example of something
immaterial, meaning that has nothing whatsoever to do with either matter or energy.
Okay, this is actually mind-blowingly funny because.
Well, I don't think it's funny.
Yes, it is, because why would the fact that I can't account for anything immaterial mean that God exists?
No, I'm not trying to prove to you that God exists. I'm not. No, I'm not trying to prove to you that God exists because you already know that.
Ridiculous little.
No, don't go. Shian, don't go into ad hominem because you can't come up with an answer. Don't go to that.
Do you even know what an ad hominem was? I didn't say anything about you. Ad hominem.
Well, you're calling me ridiculous.
No, I'm saying that the argument is ridiculous.
How is it ridiculous? You're getting angry now. How is it ridiculous?
Because you misused a logical fallacy.
Which one? Which one did I?
Hominem.
No.
You said that.
You're saying that what I said up to that point was ridiculous. I didn't. How so? No. I used the word ad hominem after you used the term ridiculous. There was something leading up to that point that you said, this is ridiculous. What is ridiculous?
The argument.
Which
not
one?
The person, not the person. An ad hominem is when you attack the person.
Shian, I'm not talking about the ad hominem. I'm not talking about the ad hominem. You're right. An ad hominem is attacking the person,
and
not the argument.
The argument,
right.
Because the argument is ridiculous.
Okay, that's what I'm asking. What about the argument is ridiculous?
Because none of them logically lead to the existence
How do you know
of God.
that? How do you know that? How do you know?
Well, I don't know it, but your arguments just don't hold up.
Well,
the logical.
Well, wait, now, Shian, let me address that. You said it doesn't add up. I asked you, how do you know? And you said you don't know, but yet you assert the truth claim that it doesn't add up. You can't support your position.
Okay, well, let's go back to what your original assertion was. You said that if you can't account for anything immaterial, then God can't exist.
No, that's not what. No, let me clear it up because that's not what I said. That's not what I said. I'm saying that without God, you cannot account for anything that is immaterial.
How so?
Because God is immaterial. God is spirit. Logic is immaterial. God is universal.
So in other words,
logic is universal. See, logic is a representation, a reflection of the very character of God, who is immaterial, universal, immutable, meaning unchanging.
Let me just repeat what you just said.
Sure.
Maybe you'll see how stupid it sounds.
No, it's not stupid.
You can't, because you can't account for anything immaterial. God must exist.
No, that's not what I said.
No, yes, it is.
No, that's not what I said. That is not. I did not say that. I said that without God, you cannot account for anything that is immaterial. I am not proving to you that God exists. My presupposition is that you already know that God exists. The same way I do. See, this isn't about evidence.
Perfect.
No, this isn't about evidence.
I was going to say.
This isn't about.
To assume that God
no, I'm
exists.
not. No, there's no assumption.
That's what you just said.
No, I didn't assume. I did not. That is not an assumption. A presupposition is not an assumption. A presupposition is not an assumption.
Well, I mean, it's something that you're...
If my presupposition is based only on my opinion, then it is absolutely an assumption, and my argument is logically, is viciously circular. But that's not what I'm arguing. That's not what I'm arguing. Shian, you are making truth claims about whether or not something is logical or illogical when you can't account for logic according to your worldview without God. Your godless worldview cannot account for that which is immaterial, universal, and immutable.
Well, really, the reason why that doesn't really matter is because you can't account for logic either.
No, I can't. Oh, I absolutely can. I did.
Yeah, but you're using this as an argument to lead me to believing into God.
Oh, I can't.
The whole
No.
thing is viciously.
No, it's not vicious, because I can't lead you to believe in God. I can't lead you to believe in God because you already do. You already believe in God. You simply deny Him. You simply deny Him.
What the fuck are you talking about?
You deny Him. You suppress the truth by your own
I do not believe
life.
in God. This guy is telling me that I believe in God.
You do.
Here. I do not.
He does.
I will not.
He does. You do, Shian, you do. You do. You just suppress the truth by your unrighteousness. You hate God, and so you put together a worldview without Him that you can't support. You're living in an absurd worldview. It's because you hate God, Shian. It's as simple as that.
It's because I hate the thing.
Because you hate God. Yes. Yes.
So
You do believe, Shian. You just suppress the truth.
This guy's telling me that I hate something that I don't believe exists.
No, I'm telling him he hates something that he does believe exists, but you deny it. That's what it is. So you can't support your godless worldview. You live in absurdity. Could you be wrong about everything you think you know?
Sure, that's possible.
Then you can't be sure about anything.
Okay.
But you don't live that. But you don't live that way. But you don't live that way.
What do you mean I don't live that
You don't live an absurd life where you can't be sure of anything. When you put gas in your car, you're sure that there's gas in your car and your car's going to run.
No, I'm not.
When you go to the bank to get money,
I'm not.
all right, then what I want you to do, Shian, is I want you to go to the bank today, and I want you to withdraw $1 million out of your savings account. And I want you to stand there with the teller and demand that teller give you, don't make any threats, I don't want you to go to jail, but I want you to demand for the $1 million that you believe is in your account. And when the teller says no, you don't have $1 million in your account, you could say, well, that doesn't matter. I believe it. You're living in a world of absurdity. You're going to go to your bank and you're only going to get that money that you know is in the account, but yet you say you can't know anything for certain. You do know things for certain. You do. But you can't account for that knowledge apart from God. You can't. You can't. And that leaves you with nothing but absurdity. If I ask you any...
Okay, so then if I account for that knowledge with God, but then you're left with the question, but does God actually exist?
No, it's not a question. It's not a question.
So that's the one thing that you just... No, if you just pretend one
No, I'm not
thing,
pretending. See, I'm appealing to an authority. I'm appealing to an authority outside of myself. My argument...
don't know exists.
No, how do you know that? You just said you could be wrong about everything you think you know.
And
how do you know
you.
that? How do you know that? You could be wrong about everything you think you know.
You're just telling me that I could be wrong.
No, you said it. You said
No.
it. I didn't say I couldn't be wrong. I said there's no way you can tell me I'm wrong based on your worldview, because you say you can't know anything for certain. So everything you say, every truth claim you put forth is a contradiction according to your worldview. That's absurdity. You can't say I could be wrong about everything I think I know and then say I'm certain of this.
Yeah, I could be wrong about that too. I mean,
right. So okay. So you live in absurdity.
Yeah, there are certain absurd things, just logical things that don't make sense.
And you're comfortable with that, Shian, because of your hatred for God.
None of your claims about these things lead to a belief in God. Period. None of them logically lead to a belief in God.
That's not my Shian.
I don't believe.
Now, but don't run away. You do, Shian. You do. You just hate him, Shian. You just hate him. And you know that. I know. There goes the ad hominem, Shian. There goes the ad hominem. Because that's where the man goes who has no argument. That's where you go. So you know what I'm telling you is true.
Exactly. That's ad hominem when you attack.
Right. It's because you can't make a logical argument. Shian,
that's an ad hominem.
Yeah,
I
know.
Fucking nut, you idiot.
But you could be wrong about that, right?
God.
You could be wrong about that, right?
Yes, I could be wrong about
You live in absurdity. You live in absurdity, and that's what makes you angry. You live in absurdity. You live in absurdity. I'll be here all afternoon if you want to come back and have a logical conversation, but until you drop your worldview, you can't. You live in absurdity. No, you know God exists, and you'll stand before Him. Have a good day, Shian. Have a good day, Shian. Be careful crossing the street.